Hello to my kings, queens, and in-betweens. I'm Valerie, and welcome to my channel, The Bookish Valkyrie. So this was originally the middle of the vlog that I was doing, and so I'm filming this after the fact. This is a vlog for Face Off weekend and all the books that I read from Friday through the beginning of Sunday. I'm just gonna go ahead and let the vlog pick up from here. Face Off weekend is perfectly timed for me. I was just getting fatigued at reading so many romances back to back to back. And the first book that I am reading for Face Off weekend is A Psalm for the Wildborn by Becky Chambers. It is a cozy sci-fi, far, far, far in the future, far, far, far out in the reaches of another planet where they have 20-hour days instead of 24, and the robots have gained self-awareness, self-consciousness. They have separated from human society and are off in the wild living their robot lives, and have been long enough that even though they teach about robots and the history between robots and humans in school, it's such a far-off thing, and no one has encountered a robot in so long that despite it being part of their history books, for our main character, when they come across a robot for the first time, they are stunned because they have honestly kind of always subconsciously categorized robots in the same category as fantasy. Like, they know they know that robots are real, but they've never encountered one, and they don't know anyone who has. And so it's very interesting when Dex comes across the robot in this story. Dex, who is our main character, is somebody who is following this undefinable need to find crickets, find the sound of crickets. They wake up one morning and they finally settled into their decision to leave their life as a gardening monk and become an amazing tea monk, and then one day decides that they still haven't found the sound of crickets. And while scrolling through, I guess, their version of Google, they come across a pilgrimage that supposedly is the home of some crickets that are indigenous to that area and very exclusively live in that area. So they decide to depart from their tea monk route and go off into the wild to find this pilgrimage. And as they are out, they come across the robot. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm honestly reading this going, I want to live in this world. I want to be a tea monk. If there is any career out there that you know of that is anything like being a tea monk, please let me know how I can become that. Because that seems like a great job to have. It's like a cross between a therapist and a barista. It seems like the perfect fit for me personally. Just let people tell me their woes and send them off with a few words of kindness or clarity and a warm cup of tea, and just send them on their way a little better off for the interaction. Sounds perfect to me. Like, I would love to do that. I want to be a tea monk. Anyway, yeah, but I do find Dex frustrating because every time anyone offers help or assistance in any way, they are unreasonably angry. I understand they have this impulse to do this thing as much on their own as possible because they don't even understand exactly what it is they're doing. But like, the unreasonable anger they have every time somebody offers them assistance is just so frustrating. Like, you can say no and not be a little rage monster about it. And admittedly, for the most part, Dex keeps the anger inside, but they definitely have their own issues. I think they need to have their own little interaction with another T-Monk, honestly. But instead, they've gone off into the wilds and they've met a robot. I will check in again with you soon. Okay, so I just finished listening to A Prayer for the Wild Built, and while I was first reading it, I was enjoying it well enough. I was enjoying it. I probably like at a 3-star rating. I don't know how else to explain. I was enjoying it, but it wasn't enthralling. And the main character wasn't somebody that I necessarily disliked, but it was somebody who I didn't particularly care for, and was in certain moments, kind of annoying. But then we got to the last section and they arrived at their destination with Moscap, which that's the robot's name, and it just changed. It was just suddenly a really good book. Like, it wasn't that the writing was better or worse before that point. I definitely am much more of a character-driven person, and I can honestly say that is the point where the dynamic between Dex and Moscap really took off. They were having a moment, and it really spoke to me, like, enough that I cried a little bit. And I don't know, I really loved it. And I, even more so, now I want to find a way to be a T-Monk. I need that to be my career. I need that career to be an option. I'm just saying. I want to be a T-Monk. I want to wander around with a cart full of tea. I want to do that. I want to do that. That needs to be my job that I can make a living wage at. Okay. So anyhow, I am probably going to pick up A Prayer for the Crown Shy later today, but for right now, I am feeling the need to switch up my media, so I'm going to pick up a graphic novel or a manga, I think. I'm going to go peruse my shelves and see what speaks to me, and once I know what I'm reading and have something to share about it, I will check back in. So, I did not end up picking up a graphic novel or manga. I ended up deciding, when I pulled a couple of graphic novels off the shelf that I was interested in, finding that sitting down was not a thing that I can do right now. I've got a little too much nervous energy, so I decided to go with another audiobook. And I am currently listening to Defect by Nino Cipri. This is a reread for me, and this is a companion novel to Fina. And I considered starting with Fina and then going to Defect, but it also didn't feel right. Welcome to mood reading a la Val style. So I picked up Defect, and as soon as I started listening to it, it was exactly what I needed to be listening to right now. So I did some dishes, and now I'm going to putter around the house and clean things up a bit while listening to Defect. And I'm really happy to be listening to Defect. I can't tell you how much I love this book. Fina is amazing, and Defect, at least for me, is even better. So I don't know. I don't know. I feel a little bit like I am an outlier with loving Defect more than Fina. It sounds like a lot of people really loved Fina and loved it enough to go on to Defect, and then because of how different Defect is from Fina, they ended up not loving it as much. However, I personally feel like this is exactly the direction that makes sense for the story to go in. So you get a wider view of the Littenvard verse, or the Litten verse, and it has a very punk overtone to it, in that it is kind of breaking through the establishment and daring to be different and being happy about it and celebrating that. So if I had to give it its own subgenre classification, I would say that this is corporate punk, by way of sci-fi. And I love it. I'm so happy to be back in the Littenverse, specifically with these characters. I love it. Okay, I'm gonna go back. See ya. Hello, it is Sunday the 16th of June, and I did not film anything from yesterday. I took my meds for the first time. I took my weekly med for the first time in about a month because I can't take it while I'm sick. And yeah, I just got knocked on my ass by it. It totally knocked me out until like, I want to say 5 p.m. I did get a bunch of reading in last night, but I was not feeling like I wanted to comb my hair and be on camera because of how wiped out by my meds I was yesterday. They don't always wipe me out like that, but this is one of the reasons why filming on the weekend doesn't happen a lot. Anyhow, the face-off weekend is officially over as of 10 o'clock this morning, my time. I think they're going based off noon Eastern time. And I just wanted to go over the books that I read yesterday. So I finished Defect Friday night, and it was fantastic. I loved it. I don't think that will ever change. And it was just as happy-making as it was the first time through. And because I still wasn't done doing things by the time I finished reading Defect, I picked up another audiobook. This time I picked up the sequel to A Psalm for the Wild Built, which is A Prayer for the Crown Shy by Becky Chambers. It didn't have the same impact for me as the first book, It did not make me cry, but that's definitely a me thing and not the book. I did enjoy it quite a lot. I loved getting to see how Moscap interacted with the world at large. I enjoyed all of the little discussions around currency or the lack thereof, and how this little society operates. How despite its seeming utopia, there was still a dissatisfaction, and there was still mental health issues, and the world working in a harmonious way is beautiful and fantastic, but it doesn't necessarily change human nature and human needs. And I really loved the connection between Dex and Moscap. It was adorable. Dex got a little something something, and the next morning, the first thing out of Moscap's mouth is congratulations on having sex. And I have to say that is a good friend. That is a good friend. Despite how embarrassed Dex was. They just don't understand. You need a friend who will fist bump you. You do. You just do. And it was very equal. It went to congratulate Dex's partner for the evening as well. And and Dex wasn't having that. But it was a fun little exchange that I very much enjoyed. I don't know why that's the highlight for me. I think maybe just because it reminds me so much of some of my friends. Yeah, definitely reminds me of some of my friends and our interactions. So by the time I finished A Prayer for the Crown Shy, it was Saturday, and I had passed out for the lion's share of the day. And so I decided to pick up Heartstopper so that I could log some numbers for the face-off and keep up. I mean, obviously I'm not going to keep up with people who were, reading 20 or so books in one weekend, but I wanted to at least make a good effort. So I read volumes 1 through 5. Again, I loved it. Heartstopper will never be anything but a favorite. I love revisiting these boys and their friends, and I love revisiting all the little dramas, the little cozy dramas that is their life. So that was 5 more books, and then I also picked up What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher. This is the second book in the Sworn Soldier series, and the first book was a retelling of Poe's Fall of the House of Usher. And I'm not exactly, I'll have to look it up, I'm not exactly sure what this was a play off of, if it was just folklore around like fairies and spirits and such, or ghosts, hungry ghosts. Oh, I never noticed this. That's pretty. Okay, I have to show you how pretty this book is, because I read the audiobook, so obviously I don't. I didn't open the book until just now, but look at this foiled cover and the inside end papers with the moths and the flame. So the same on the back end. The creature in this, the monster in this, instead of being a fungus, is a ghost, the ghost of a woman who was buried in their wellspring, and she sits on your chest and sucks the breath out of you until you die. Or at least that's the basis of the myth that this is built around. I think that both this and What Moves at Night were both very good. They were beautifully written, but neither of them really managed to creep me out. I think that What Moves the Dead was creepier than What Feasts at Night. I don't know, I think it's the style, but I just didn't connect very well with this. It's a good short horror book if you're in the mood for something with a classic feel to it, something a little gothic. So I did enjoy it. It just wasn't something that really spoke to me or really freaked me out or really made me feel anything deeply. So this is a 3.5 stars for me because it is good, it is well written, it's beautifully written, and it's very atmospheric. But I can't give it higher than that just because I didn't have any connection to it. And again, I think this is a me thing, but that's where I landed with this. Editing Val here. So I just realized as I was finishing up the edit on this vlog that I missed one. So on Saturday night, right after I finished reading the Heartstopper series, I decided to pick up another graphic novel, which was North Ranger. And North Ranger is a take on Northanger Abbey, but I would say that where Northanger Abbey is a gothic rom-com. And if you disagree with me on that, please put it in the comments and we can discuss. But so this I found hysterically funny. North Ranger was not hysterically funny. North Ranger was definitely gothic romance. Also, North Ranger is a contemporary queer retelling, whereas the original Jane Austen is a satire, and it is very much a gothic rom-com, poking fun at the gothic stories of the time and the silliness of society. So yeah, instead of gothic satire with rom-com delivery system, we got gothic romance with a graphic novel delivery system. Anyhow, I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, and I will definitely be rereading it sometime down the line. I definitely recommend it. Just if you're picking it up hoping for the gothic rom-com that you get in this, it's not going to be there. So do with that what you will. I'm exhausted, and I will let past Val pick back up. The face-off weekend ended up with us in 5th place, also known as last place, but I'm not going to say we lost because we still got 100 GRC each, and that's awesome. And then we also got the new leg announcement, but I will talk about that in the opening of the next video. I had a great time despite my medicated zombiness yesterday. I had a great time with this. The community has been so much fun, and all the sprints have been fantastic, and I am super happy that we have 2 more weeks of sprints to go. So I definitely was flagging by the time face-off weekend came. So far as reading went, I was starting to get a little fatigued, and I think that the genre change and the shortness of the reads was exactly what I needed to reinvigorate myself to be able to go back to reading a bunch of romance again. I honestly was really kind of surprised that I had gotten fatigued with the romance, but I think it was mostly the sameness of it all and not so much romance that was the problem. Because, I mean, I slid back into Heartstopper just fine, and I think it was just how quickly I was going from romance to romance to romance with no real change in pace or in genre. So I am not going to commit to reading solely romance for the rest of the month. I will read a lot of romance, but if a city prompt or a sightseeing prompt happens to fit a different genre book that I have, and it's what I want to read, I'm going to probably go ahead and go with that. I'm still going to go for all the points I can get, but I will not be denying my moods, because when it comes to reading, I am I'm 100% a mood reader, and if I go against my moods, I definitely start feeling fatigued and slumpy. So yeah, that's where we're at. We are halfway through the amazing readathon. We have made it through Face Off weekend intact, and I'm raring to go for the next half of the readathon. See you next video. Stars shining bright above me. Night breezes seem to whisper. Sycamore tree. Dream a little dreamer. And hello, my precious. Yeah, you want my tea? Yeah? How about I make you a little chamomile, huh? I don't think you should be drinking my caffeine. I know, you love caffeine. Okay. Let me finish this update. And then I'll go. Okay? Yeah, I know. I know. I love you too. Alright. Finish this update and we'll make you some puppy tea. I don't even know what I was talking about anymore. Tea monks. I'm gonna start over. Heartstopper. Defect. Oh no. I already did defect. Although the trauma of the fungus is definitely present in this story. I don't know. I might cut that out. I'm so tired. Okay. So